friends of the internet, a lot of you guys have requested that I do a what's in my competition travel suitcase travel bag for skating video. So here it is. I myself am a very anxious person. Before I leave for any competition, I always feel like I'm missing something or forgetting something, and hopefully this helps ease any sort of travel and packing anxiety. And as part of this video, I'll also be developing a full skating competition packing checklist that I will release in a link in my Instagram bio. So if you would like to download a copy for yourself to refer to the next time you travel for a figure skating competition, please find me and follow me on Instagram and you can download the PDF there. Alright, where do we begin? There is a lot of crap to go through. How I organize my skating packing list is in 8 categories. I know you're like, oh my god, 8 categories, that's insane, but I promise you it does actually help. Without further ado, let's dive right into what the hell is actually in my suitcase. Starting off with our category number 1, skating essentials / sporting equipment. The first thing I pack is my skates. This is the one thing that, you know, just don't forget this, because if you forget this, kind of screwed. Definitely keep your skates in your carry-on bag in case your checked bag gets lost. Have heard a lot of people ran into issues with TSA in the past. Obviously differs if you're competing internationally, because some other countries TSA views stuff differently. Do your research, but from my experience traveling to competitions within the United States, TSA is typically very okay with it. If anything, they'll pull your bag just to do an inspection on the blade. Most of the times figure skates are actually allowed per their website, per officer discretion. Some places might ask for like a certification that you are actually an athlete. You're not just bringing on freaking figure skates as like a weapon. These toe picks can really do something to someone. But the second item is soakers. If you skate, you probably know what soakers are. Keeps your blades nice and dry and covered when they're not in use. Guards, and I love these Adea guards. Guards are especially important when you're competing because there's probably a lot of downtime between your warm-up where you have your skates on but you're just like walking around. Always bring guards so you can walk around any surface without slipping and dying, because the last thing you want to do is injure yourself before you're about to compete. And these Adea ones are by far my favorite ones, but they're also a bit pricey. Honestly, $10-15 ones from Amazon still do the trick. A microfiber towel to wipe down my blade. It's important to always keep your blades dry so they don't rust. A travel yoga mat. Bought this off of Amazon for literally like $10-15. It's basically a yoga mat that folds into a square. It is really thin, as you can see here, so it's really easy to pack even in a small carry-on suitcase. Always want a surface to do stretches and warm-ups and cool downs. The next thing I have is spinners. I don't always use spinners at competitions, but sometimes I do. Actually, if you don't have a lot of practice time actually on the ice, it's nice to do some off-ice work. I have 2 versions here. There's kind of this like disc looking version. This is also from Adea's, and this is a square spinner. To be honest, I think I like the square spinner a little bit better, but I have heard that this one, it has like a little bit of a curve to it, so it kind of simulates what your blade is actually like. If you actually took a look at figure skating blades, it's like slightly curved. It's not like a flat straight line, because a lot of skating is focused on being on a certain part of the curve of the blade. Stretching strap, again, also just bought this off of Amazon. This is just super helpful to assist in stretching. This has holes around it, so I'll loop this around my foot and then I can pull my leg all the way back for like a good hamstring stretch. Resistance band, so you can also buy like a pack of these at different resistant weights. These are just super helpful to have. Quick warm-ups, get your glutes firing. Like, I'll just put these around my ankle and do leg lifts. It really warms your body up really nicely. Yoga blocks. So depending on space, I don't always bring this, but it is very helpful. There's certain stretches that I like doing with my yoga block. Tiger tails, essentially like a roller. I think this is just super helpful for me personally to roll out things that like my quads. And the next thing I want to show you is the life changer in relieving pain. If you guys watch my videos, you know that I have so many chronic sports injuries, and because of that, I have sciatica, I have ongoing pain if I sit for too long, if I stand for too long. And the one thing that helps me is a lacrosse ball. If you haven't seen a lacrosse ball, it basically just looks like a really dense ball. Like, you can just like feel it. It's like pretty heavy. I would personally put this kind of like where my glutes are, and I sit on it on a mat and I roll around until I find where it hurts, like the trigger point, and I'll hold it there, and I'll take deep breaths in and deep breaths out, and it literally gets rid of pain like no others. Especially when I'm in the peak of my training, I get a lot of like sciatica flare-ups. This is the one thing that I will never forget to bring at a competition. The next thing I have is a knee pad. So especially if your choreography includes knee slides, any sort of knee work, I find it actually really nice to bring knee pads so that you don't bruise your knees so much during practice, and that your knees are kind of brand new and fresh for when you actually perform, because obviously when I actually compete, I don't wear these. I was just lucky because I used to be a volleyball player, so we always wear knee pads. You can find these at any typical sporting goods store. I love foam rolling for big muscle groups like my hamstrings, my calves, my glutes. I don't always bring this, not because I don't want to, because it is pretty big. So for bigger competitions like nationals where I do check a bag, I'll definitely bring this, but for smaller competitions I probably won't bring this. And then I just have my figure skating backpack. This is the bag that fits my skates. Always just bring a dongle with me just in case, because at all of these rinks the music system is like pretty outdated, so you never know if you might need a dongle. For the most part, I never ran into any issues where a competition had music related issues, but I always preemptively prepare for it. And I also have a backup CD. It's like so old school. I literally had to buy like a CD port converter because nobody uses CDs anymore except for figure skaters. I think this is pretty uncommon. You don't necessarily need this, but I always still burn my music onto a CD. And last but not least, I have tissues. I always like to bring like a small box like this because I feel like it's easier for me to use than like the little travel packs. You know what I'm talking about. It's not as easy to pull out. There's only like 5 sheets in a little bag. The next big category is health and wellness. So essentially I have a specific pouch that I always bring with almost first aid type of stuff. So athletic tape in case you roll an ankle, or band-aids in case you cut your hand with your blades, which happens more than you think. And don't forget to bring any sort of prescription medications for your own health concerns. For me, I always bring migraine medication because I'm very susceptible to migraine. Always have some sort of painkillers on hand, whether it's Advil or Tylenol to help with headaches or any sort of muscle aching injury. And then I just have some basic cold medicine because I'm just deathly terrified of getting ill in the middle of a competition, which definitely happened to me if you follow my vlogs. I also always have some sort of Tums or Pepto-Bismol on hand because I do have a nervous stomach. So a lot of the times I do get an upset stomach. I know this is a bit TMI before I compete, so it's always nice to have any sort of like stomach medications on hand as well. Always make sure that I bring some sort of sleeping aid. So typically I take melatonin. So melatonin is like a natural way to help you fall asleep faster. I'm someone who before like a big day like a competition will find it hard to sleep at night, so I also bring some sleep aid. So sleep aid, I don't recommend you take it that frequently because I don't think it's necessarily good for you. So it's not like melatonin, it's not natural, but it does really knock you out. So in trying times I do take sleep aid. Another helpful thing that I always have, Tide to Go stick, because you never know, something just may get on that costume that you paid thousands and thousands of dollars for and you have to fix it right away. So always bring Tide to Go. And then here I also have some hand warmers. Most rinks I've skated at this year were relatively okay, but I have heard horror stories of some rinks being so cold, so it might be sometimes helpful to just have hand warmers. When you're flying and traveling for these competitions, it's very easy to catch something and get sick, especially when your immune system is probably down during times of high stress. The body's going through a lot. So I always bring emergency, always drink an emergency before and after I land a flight. And then I almost always bring liquid IV or like a liquid IV dupe. So any sort of hydration drink mix that has electrolytes and vitamins. Not a lot of people know this, and I learned this last year because last year's national was actually at altitude. But the thing that a lot of people run into is dehydration. With high altitude, you don't realize how much more water and electrolytes you need in order to keep your body hydrated. And then I bring Go-Go Squeeze. Go-Go Squeeze is like literally my whole diet when I compete. Like I mentioned, I have a nervous stomach. I'm not the biggest fan of eating before a competition, depending on what time my competition is. I sometimes may or may not eat something a little bit more substantial before. Go-Go Squeeze is basically just like a very portable, sippable version of just applesauce. It's bland, it's simple, it's easy to eat, it tastes good, and most of all, it does not make me feel like I'm about to puke. Also, this is just like pure carbohydrates, right, and sugars, which you definitely do need before you go out there and perform. 30 minutes to an hour before my event, I'll always try to eat one of these, even if I don't want to eat, to make sure that I have some sort of fuel in me. And the other thing I usually have is some sort of granola bar or just easy to eat bar. And it doesn't matter at what point I'm on in my menstrual cycle, I always bring pads just in case. Another helpful trick, I don't have the bottle with me at the moment, but iron supplements, especially for me, I feel extra fatigued when I'm on my period. So part of the reason why is you lose a lot of iron when you're bleeding, because science. Sometimes that can lead to muscle weakness, fatigue. I always try to make sure I eat a lot of spinach and take iron supplements when I'm on the go. And from a recovery standpoint, the other thing I always bring with me is my massage gun. I feel like percussion therapy has been such a big thing in recent years. I think this is from Amazon, from this brand called Life Pro. I know there's like more expensive versions out there, but honestly, this works pretty well for me. This really helps me get rid of a lot of my knots in my legs, especially after I train. All right, so third category is hair. In addition to obviously bringing a regular brush, I do also like to bring a parting comb. They have this kind of long tail that you can use to kind of segue. And did I literally just say segue? No, I'm trying to say that I'm trying to part my hair. This is what this is for. And then I also have like a little teasing comb just in case I wanted to tease certain parts of my hair. 2 essentials of figure skating hair: hairspray and hair gel. And yes, in my opinion, you do need both. If I'm driving, for example, I'll probably just bring these full-size bottles because it's so much easier to just bring the whole thing rather having to shove all of this into little travel containers. But if I am flying, for the most part, I'll try to put this into like a little travel jar. And for hairspray, I have like a separate mini like Treseme's travel size hairspray. I have styling tools. So this year I did have to bring a straightener as well as a curler because I had 2 different programs with 2 separate hairdos. And then we have elastic. I always like to bring like really thin elastics that are pretty much the same color as your hair. Also just have regular hair ties. I also have bobby pins. Always have bobby pins. Cannot survive a figure skating competition without bobby pins, especially when you have a lot of hair like me. I just need to pin it like everywhere to make sure it stays intact. So fourth category is makeup, and that is truly to your own preference. My checklist will have a full kind of list of like what I tend to use and like to bring, just item wise, like blush, eyeshadow, whatever it may be. So feel free to just use that as a reference. All right, we move into category number 5, which is clothes. And my friends, the most important thing of all time, your figure skating costume. Like, other than your skates, do not forget your costume. I always try to keep my figure skating costume or dress in kind of like a dress cover. Oh my god, this is literally not called a dress cover, and the word is just not coming to my brain at the moment. So typically if I'm just driving to a competition, I do just hang this up in my car to make sure I minimize any wrinkles or any damages to the dress with the cover on. However, if I am flying, that is a little bit trickier. Do try to pack your costume in your carry-on as well. Do not check it, because in the chance that the airline does lose your costume, it's gonna be a nightmare. You're not gonna have something to wear. You're probably just lost a bunch of money you invested in that costume or that dress, because figure skating costumes are goddamn expensive, as we all know. So typically when I fly, how I pack my skating costume is I fold it very carefully, put it in a separate kind of plastic bag, and then I'll pack my dress cover thing above it as well. If you do have a backup costume, definitely do bring it. It doesn't matter if it absolutely does not match the music at all. It's just to have something there that fits you, that you can wear just in case a snafu happens. It's not necessary, but it just helps soothe my own anxious self. The next thing you want to bring is your competition tights. Figure skating tights are very different than normal tights. You can technically wear normal tights, but it's gonna feel very different, especially if it's a footed tight, which means it goes all the way down to your feet. it might actually impact how secure you feel inside your boot. I actually did try to skate with a regular pair of just like fashion tights, but my problem was the material was so slippery, and it was a footed one that when I put my feet into my skates, I felt unstable. Like I felt my feet was sliding around, and you do not want that. So wear your tights a couple of times before you compete, like kind of wear them in an odd way. They also sell figure skating tights without the feet, so you can just wear the tights all the way down to your ankle, and then for the actual feet part, you can just still wear your normal training skating socks, like whatever you're comfortable and familiar with. And these skating ones are way more resistant than regular fashion tights, but I always still try to bring 2 to 3 pairs just in case. And the ones I personally feel the most comfortable in competing in is the Chloe Noel light tan footed tight, then these things. And me and my friends have a funny nickname for these because we call them chicken cutlets, because they look like raw chicken. They're like stick-on bras that you can wear when you compete. Because personally for me, I know a lot of figure skating dresses come with kind of like a small bra pad sewn onto them. I just don't like anything to show. These stick on really, really well. They're from Amazon. They're pretty affordable, so would highly recommend bringing these. And the next article of clothing was an absolute life changer, and it is these Aloe Yoga tearaway sweats. Essentially, you can unbutton the side of these sweats and just take them off over your skates. Bring regular training clothes because you're likely going to be practicing when you're at the competition. Training tops that look like this. My Lululemon leggings I've been wearing for literally 5 years and somehow are still intact. A couple of normal people call outs. I'm not going to go and show what this looks like. Just make sure you remember to bring your underwear, bring your socks, bring skating socks and regular socks. Yes, they are different. Oh, gloves is a big one. Gloves you will always need. And the other thing to not forget is your costume jewelry, especially if this is just jewelry specifically for your skating look. It's very easy to forget the jewelry that you don't wear every day. And category 5 is toiletries, and similarly to makeup, I won't go into the nitty-gritties of everything. You can definitely check out my full list that is linked in my Instagram bio, but essentially just all the basics. And category 7 is just essential. So my keys, my AirPods, ID, wallet, my water bottle. And lastly is category 8, which is electronics. Don't forget to bring your phone charger, your laptop charger. Sometimes it's also nice to have a portable charger if you know you're going to be at the rink all day. So hopefully this video is helpful, and if you're a nervous traveler or an anxious packer like me, I hope this video helps you a lot. I have the same checklist that I use every time, and I swear to God it relieves so much of my stress knowing that I know exactly what I need to pack almost every time. Again, I will make sure to link that PDF in my bio in Instagram, so feel free to visit me there and download the full PDF, and you can use that when you go compete next. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you watch these videos and you like these videos, please subscribe. It takes less than 1 second of your time, but it will mean the absolute world to me. Leave me a comment down below on what you would like to see from me next, and your next idea may just be the next video that I make. If you're watching this and competing soon, best of luck to you, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Boy, your honey sickly sweet keeps me coming, got me weak. You could kill me, I'd still be